we get away from, having numbers, number one, is the best way to protect ourselves from emotional leadership of a company. Okay?
Numbers
When
don't
we
lie.
actually, numbers don't lie. And all we have to do is look at the numbers. And numbers, it's not how I feel, it's what actually was accomplished or what the goal actually was. And so when we are looking at our sales process, each step of our sales process has measurables. And so if at the end of the day we're not coming out where we want to be, then all we have to begin doing is looking back in the steps and begin to find out, okay, where are we not hitting the numbers? Okay? And so as soon as we begin to adopt and begin to embrace this idea of systemization, right behind that comes this new concept of we need to track the systems to make sure that they are doing exactly what we're wanting them to do. And if they're not, then we make tweaks, we make changes, we toss it out, put it in a new system if we have to. But what we need to do is make sure that our steps are in place. Very similar to, we do this with UPS or something like that. If we've bought a package and they put a tracking number on it, and they said it's going to be here next Tuesday. Well, it's not here on Tuesday. Dadgummit, where is the thing? I want to be able to track it, so I just punch in a number, and all of a sudden I can see it went from here to there to there. This is where it's held up. We want to do the same thing with each of the activities that we are involved in here in the company. Not only our sales side, not only optics and sales side, but also, what can be tracked here at the front desk.
Mm-hmm.
What can be tracked with scheduling and so on, okay? Administration and financials and all that fun stuff, okay? So, from there, in talking with Dr. Tate, it sounds like our last couple months have been lower than expected, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, why is that? What's happened this last couple months?
One thing we know for sure is that we dropped IMED. We
what's-
dropped one of our highest vision plans, and so those patients have either canceled or gone somewhere else.
Okay,
But we've still seen a lot of them.
We've still seen a good amount of patients to where it shouldn't have dropped off this much.
Right.
It's either they come out and we're not closing the sale, or they come out and they will not sit down and even get a quote.
But before we even get there, we're not keeping our schedule full.
okay,
The no-show rate is high.
okay. Keep going. What else? What other reasons are you coming up with?
I know on the optical side, here just recently, we've had a lot of people, before they even get back there, they're like, oh, I get my glasses online. And it's just like an instant wall built up that they don't even want to hear what we have to even say to them. So, and they're making it known from the minute they walk in to back there to there that they're not getting glasses here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just been recently, I've noticed a big kind of
And we
rush of that.
work the whole time and telling them, 50% of glasses bought online aren't the right prescription. Let's take you through, what our stuff is, and kind of let me explain what this is made out of and what you're getting online. And there's some of them that are still like, nope, don't care. For $15, I'll buy 15 pair, and then one of them will at least be right.
Okay. Okay. So we're getting some objections here.
Mm-hmm.
We've dropped a high level insurance, is that what you're
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
People just aren't buying into the why.
Okay. People aren't buying in. Okay, cool. Well, first of all, this right here is a little bit dangerous, okay? These are emotional words. rather than systematic measurement words. We've had some people, okay, there's been a good amount of people that have done, well, the rate is high. There's no way to measure some, a good amount, and the rate is high. We can't measure that. So immediately I put that into a box over here of that's an emotional measurement. Okay? And a lot of times I know that you guys have been in this spot before where emotional measurements can really be quite a bit different than what actuality is. You know, just because I'm tired, so things can feel really heavy. Oh my gosh, it's just really. Anybody been there before? You know what I'm talking about? But then when you actually break it down and look at it, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. You know, do this with my senior daughter at Skytook High School quite often. Just crazy busy. I just haven't had any time. Really? Okay. Well, let's take a look at your time that you have right now. Seems like you're doing really good on Netflix and, you know, knocking out all of those series and everything. But we don't have time, you know, that type of thing. Because it's an emotional thing at that age. Everything is emotional. Everything is measured emotionally, okay, which I get. But when we bring that same concept into running a company, it can keep us in a place of misunderstanding and misrepresenting what is actually going on, you know? So if we stay with this type of language without actually putting numbers on things, if we stay with this type of language, then it's really easy for us to, if we're not careful, to put in policies and procedures based on emotions rather than what the real measurements are. And so some may be two. And it might be two that just happened yesterday, so it's kind of front of mind. So it's like, oh my gosh, because yesterday 2 out of 5. So it's like, oh my gosh, it's like everybody. It's like, well, now slow down. Is it really everybody, or was it just 2 out of 5 yesterday? You know, type of thing. So this is something we just want to be aware of, to pick up when we're saying things like some of this and a big amount. It just seems like a lot. Okay, those words. It's not that we don't use those words. But when those words start coming up, those are indicators that we need to track. We need to go to our tracking system and see what's actually going on. So we changed insurance carriers, and so it feels like we've lost some people. How many? You know, we need to know. Because you said in one sentence, we've lost some people there. But then at the same time, it's, you know, we're still getting a bunch of them. So it's like, okay, we've lost a bunch. So what is it? You know, well, it kind of depends on how I want to use the emotional feeling. If we're not doing good, well, we've lost a lot. But if we're doing okay, but we're able to hang on to a bunch, you know. So you can just, with your emotions, you can go wherever you want to go. And as a leader, you're kind of going, okay, I don't know how to steer with that. Okay. So if we feel like this is going on, then we need to know, who have we lost, quote unquote? Who has moved off? How many people have moved off when we did that? Fair enough? And potentially, if we have the data for it, when those people have moved off, how much money did we lose with that? Because those people usually spent X amount of dollars. Does that make sense? So now we have something, because we have tracked it, now we have something that's a little bit more secure. Okay? Same thing when we were talking about a good amount. What was this? You said a good amount of something. Do you remember? I just remember that coming out of your mouth. A good amount of people. I forget what it was. Yeah. But again, yeah, I don't know what I was talking.
And do a quote.
Yes, that's
I know,
what it
it's
is.
one of the things that I said.
Okay. Do we know how many people we're not able to get? Do we know where that thing's breaking down?
And I just put track those that don't buy.
Okay. Which we'll talk about here in just a moment. As we walk through our step 1, step 2, step 3, as we walk through our different steps, if all of a sudden we're finding here at step 4, people aren't doing something, then that means something needs to happen at step 3 to make sure step 4 happens. Okay? But if we don't have each of those steps identified, okay, systemized, which means each step is not only identified in the process, But also, each step, hello, but also each step has a process of how we're actually going to do it. Make sense? Okay? And then, let's see, we're also talking about a rate that was high. I don't remember, I just heard that.
No-show rate.
What's that?
No-show rate.
No-show rates are high. Okay? So, is there something in our appointment setting process and following up process and confirming process that we need to take a look at? That for one reason or another, I know that staffing and everything has been a little crazy here over the past 4 or 5 weeks. And so all of a sudden, people are having to do a little bit more than they're usually doing. And so if I'm having to do a little bit more over here, then maybe I'm doing a little bit less over here. So maybe, something, again, I'm just tossing this out. Maybe something didn't get done over here, so all of a sudden people are forgetting or people aren't showing up and we're not aware of it. Does that make sense? The only way for us to be able to identify that is to go back and track the system, okay? To find out where the problem is. Because if we're not careful, we'll fall into a category, which is great, okay? All right, I'll just tell you, this is wonderful, but we don't want to stay here. But we'll fall into a place of, well, people just aren't buying in. They're just not buying into our wine anymore. It's, it's the economy. Things are just, all of a sudden we're coming up with these things. We're totally out of control of it. It's just, it's Trump, it's Obama, it's the weather, it's that hurricane. It's just got everybody's attention. So people aren't paying attention to their eyeballs anymore. Does that make sense? Because this is emotional, we can come up with emotional reasons for things that are actually happening. And those emotional reasons make sense to our brain. And so we go, oh yeah, that's probably what it is. And so we come to a conclusion that the reason why things are the way they are really is out of our control. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay? So this again is where tracking becomes so important. And some things are really easy to track. Other things you have to be really creative to discover, how am I going to track this action, okay, to make sure it gets done. And we want to be careful that we don't come up with the answer a lot of times of, well, you just can't really track that, okay? I'll let you get away with that just every now and then, but if that's, well, we can't track that, we can't track that, we can't track that, it's like, you're just not being creative, okay? Comment, you're smiling a lot. What are you smiling at?
Well, because all the things that you keep saying, you're like, oh, I make up this excuse for this. If one of us were to say it, we'd all be like, yeah, you're totally right. But when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. Things that you say out loud, I'm like, we just talked about this yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Now it sounds dumb.
That sounds kind of silly. Yeah. Okay. And I totally get that. I totally get that. But again, I think a lot of it stems back to this tracking. Mm-hmm. I think we've done a good job of identifying steps, but now we need to come back and actually track. It's very possible that we're tracking the end product, okay? The last number over here, the revenue, the amount of money that people are spending, which is great. But if this number isn't what we want it to be, then we need to come back into the system to be able to track. Have we gotten to a place yet where we are actually able to record anything?
We haven't
Okay.
gotten that far.
Okay. So, if, let's say, we're getting a whole lot of no's, all right? No over here, and then they walk out. What the optics person is left with is, well, they're just not buying into the why. If I don't have a recording of what was said and how it was said and when it was said and all that kind of stuff, I can't track that. And so as a leader, I just have to go off of your word. And again, it's not that I think you're lying by any means, but I have no way to verify that you actually did the script, And again, I have no reason to think that you didn't do the script other than over here, we were doing the script and it was working. Now we're doing the script and it's not working.
We actually had a moment when Julie and Dr. Tate and I were in the lab a couple months ago. Everything was going smooth sailing with our 20-point cell system, and then all of a sudden it was like brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
But we figured out as we were talking through it, we were reading it and had memorized it so well that we were reciting it back to each other every morning in our meeting. But it became almost like robotic to the patient.
Yeah.
So they were just like instant, like, I don't want anything that you're selling because you're just trying to sell me something.
Yeah.
So we took it back down a notch and just kind of more casually, more personable, and instantly it went back up. And it was like, why didn't we think about this? Because
Yeah.
that was the only thing we had changed.
I think
See, that's beautiful.
I think
See,
so.
that's a way you actually took time to hear what was going on. I mean, I've got both of my people now. I don't think you guys have met Kendall yet, but you've met Sean before. I mean, each of them are making 100 phone calls a day. I mean, they're just hammering the phones. And over time, it's just, hello, this, it just gets so monotonous, especially when people are going, no, 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 no. So every Monday, we have our sales meeting, and we're listening to their phone calls, okay? I'm sitting here, and we've got their script on one screen. We're listening over here, and so they're talking, and I'm watching. Are they following the script? You know, and all of a sudden, Sean's got off on this thing of, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. And I'm going, okay, where's gotcha here on the script? Why do you keep saying gotcha? And then, of course, as we're listening to this, oh my gosh, that's 15, 16. I keep saying gotcha. Stop saying gotcha. You know, so I just don't know where the gotcha came from. Okay, gotcha. Every time they're answering questions, gotcha. What the heck? You know, but it's like I was in athletics, and so there was always film of the game, and then there's watching the film of the game. And if I remember in high school, our coaches didn't know what the heck was going on, so they didn't really know how to use the films. It was pretty much just like watching a movie, you know. Yeah, man, we lost again. Man, yeah, I missed that tackle again. There wasn't a whole lot of coaching in the midst of that. But when I played in college, it was very, very different, you know, where they would stop the thing and they would give you instructions. And so then all of a sudden, when you're out there in the game, things are starting to click. Does that make sense? So,
I think a good example is on Monday, it got crazy. I was over there selling glasses, and I had 3 folders on my desk of patients that needed to go back, and I was the only tech here. And so I was over there selling glasses. That poor lady did not get a good experience. She got me trying to do a quote of something that I haven't done in over 2 years, trying my best, but that's a very good example of what happens when you don't follow the system.
yeah.
So she called back and canceled her order.
Oh, yeah. And there's going to be weird cases like that. We just don't want that to be consistent. You know, I don't know that you can hit 100% every single time, but we want to be at that 80. You know, want to be at that 80. You're smiling again. What are you smiling at? Yeah, I didn't tell me what 90. So is this idea of tracking making sense?
Yes.
Kind of following on that?
Yes.
Now, again, one of these key things is there for a while coming to June. I think coming to June, it was around June, April, May, June, July, right in there. We were on track to be at about like 1.2 million for the year. But then all of a sudden, June, July, and August have hit, and months that we were thinking, especially August, that we were thinking were going to be really big, just kind of flopped on us, you know, and we just didn't hit our numbers. Now, again, my first thing is, okay, well, let's go back and track what went on. Well, we didn't see as many. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, how many did we not see? You know, there were some, there was quite a number, there was a big number, there was a lot, and those type of emotional words that are going on that we actually want to be able to identify the numbers, okay? Now, there are many different systems that we can track, all right? So what I'm going to do, first of all, is give you guys an opportunity to, which system would you like to talk about? Which system do you want to talk about first about how to track? Rather than me just hopping into one, you're going, Clay, this is a stupid one.
How about getting patients in the door for their appointments?
Okay?
Like I said, we have had a pretty high no-show rate.
Okay?
So Right now, I call our pre-appoints that have been set a year in advance, 2 weeks before their appointment. They get an email and a text. And then I give them a 1 week warning, 1 week before their appointment.
Okay, let me come back and let's put
Okay.
that together. You guys have this already in like a
Mhm.
step-by-step thing?
Mhm.
Okay, so our step one is what? again?
2 weeks.
Call 2 weeks out?
They get an email, call, and text.
So 2 weeks out, email, call, text. Okay, and then from there,
And if there's no communication by 1 week, if they haven't confirmed or canceled, then we give them 24 hours to get in contact with us. And if they don't, within that 24 hours, we move them over to our wait list.
and this is 1 week too, this is another, because if we have talked to them, then we contact again at 1 week, right? So if 1 week, if contacted,
If not.
Well, if not contacted, they only get the
if
2 week.
not contacted, is that correct?
They only get the 2 week. If they say, yes, I'm gonna be there, then they'll skip over the 1 week and get a 1 day.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's not there, but if not contacted,
Then I try again at a week.
then we do it at a week.
Mm-hmm.
If they are contacted, then
They get a 1 day.
1 day to like the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And this is a call, email, text? What goes on here?
Yes, all three.
All three?
Well,
Unless
if they confirm to the text or the email, we don't call them. Except for we changed that last week.
Well, we're gonna use these three methods to get a response from them.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay? All right. And then day of
Yes.
is when they're supposed to show up, correct?
And then if they don't show up, you call them, right?
Mm-hmm. And if they don't show up, then I'll call them within 30 minutes to try and reschedule.
Okay? And when they don't show up, do we, do they answer that phone call? Are they able
Not
to tell
usually.
us?
Sometimes they'll answer and say, oh, my work called, or something came up.
Mm-hmm. Okay?
And they also I've gotten an email because I put myself on schedule, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I remember the next day, I got an email that said, I'm sorry, we missed you, please call us to reschedule. So there is a no-show email as well as a phone call.
Okay. So we go here, show up.
I like this whole flow chart thing.
Yeah.
Kinda makes it easier.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is what we need to have for everything.
Yeah.
What's that?
This is creative.
Isn't it correct?
I like the scribbles and all.
Yeah, sorry about all the, yeah.
Gives a little clay.
scribbles. So if we have a no-show, then we do a follow-up,
Yeah.
and is that email, call, text?
It's
It's
just,
just a call and
Call.
email.
yeah, calling.
So follow-up, call, email. Okay? Fair enough?
Mhm.
So far, anything I'm missing in this?
No, and I think that system works pretty good. It's usually the people who call to set their appointment that are no showing. Like, it's a lot of new patients or patients that aren't pre-appointed.
Okay,
And I feel
So-
like it might be because we only give them the day before call. Like, the pre-appoints, they get the 2 weeks. If they haven't communicated, then they get a 1 week. Then they get a day before. But the people who are no showing are people who called in and set their appointment for 2 weeks out. Because they only get Mondays off, and so we had to put it a couple Mondays out.
okay,
And they're only getting that one day before call.
good. Okay, so this system is working okay,
I think
we
so.
feel,
I feel.
because we don't necessarily have the exact numbers of, okay, how many people did we call? All right, how How many people did we contact on that first time? How many people did we have to go here with? And then how many people showed, how many people didn't show? Does that make sense? See, we don't have those numbers, so it's like, well, is it this, is it that? You know, I'm not really sure where the breakdown. All I know is we're getting a lot of no-shows. You know, I just think people aren't buying in. I just feel like, you know, people are distracted with the hurricane. People are, well, school's started up. You know, I mean, we just go to those things, okay? We go. I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying we can go to those things pretty quickly.
For me, what I think is maybe that if it's set 2 weeks out, then they've called Zellner's and got in that evening instead of waiting 2 weeks.
Okay.
You
But
know,
we don't
or-
know that.
Yeah. Well,
Be-
there have been a couple that I've called and they're like, oh, well, I just went somewhere that day.
Okay. Beautiful example, okay? Beautiful example of there were a couple people that I called and they said they just set up that appointment. So why aren't people showing up? Well, they're just going someplace else and getting an appointment. It's like, no, those two did, but we don't know exactly if that's the issue or not. Does that make sense? And if we are finding that we are losing people like that, if that is 80% of the people, they need an appointment in the next couple days, and we're finding out that, okay, we can't accommodate that here right now, but we are losing 80% of these new people coming in because we aren't able to accommodate them in, you know, 1 or 2 days, then that obviously is a big red flag that comes up. Uh-oh, we need to get another doctor in here so we can accommodate people.
Well, now we can. But in August, we couldn't, you know, so that's...
Now, what do you mean now we can? But
Well, because we have openings now all week, tomorrow and Friday in the morning and in the afternoon.
In August.
And not that long ago, yeah, we were 3-4 weeks out.
Right,
before we
right,
could
and
get it.
again,
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing that we're gonna get into.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll hit it today, but that's a whole other thing that we're getting into. How do we get away from this?
Yes.
You know, so there is another system involved here where people are actually. This is us calling people that did stuff last year
These
This
are
is
our
and
recall
us getting
patients.
back in touch with them here.
So
Correct.
this is just pre-appointed.
This is just pre-appoint. Okay? So we'll say pre-appoint. And then what is going on down here, what are we gonna call this one? When they actually call and make an appointment? Is there another word for that? If this is pre-appoint, this is,
Just an appointment, I
Okay.
guess.
Appointment.
okay? And tell me what goes on here. They call, is that
Or
correct?
email. They can request an
Okay.
appointment through our website.
So they set the appointment. And then what happens next?
And then nothing until the day before. Yep. I offer to send emails for the patient paperwork for everyone.
I
Not
think people have
everyone.
been using that more.
Yeah, I think
lately.
so. I think so.
Huh?
Okay.
Is it 28 minutes?
Yep.
We have to stop.
This kind of goes into what I was telling you about Blake though this morning about I set up a doctor's appointment at a doctor's office I've never been to, and it was 2 weeks ago, and I need her